Our top story this morning is the ongoing search for the person who shot and killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The shot fired during an event at Utah Valley University yesterday afternoon sent the crowd running. Kirk was hit in the neck, then rushed to the hospital, but did not survive. And Utah's governor had this message for the killer.
But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you, and we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law.
The FBI's Salt Lake City field office released this statement saying it's devoting its full resources to the investigation and that the FBI will co-lead the response. Condolences are coming out of the White House. President Trump posted a video message on his social media platform. Here's some of what he said.
I'm filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. This is a dark moment for America.
And lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are denouncing the shooting and political violence in general. Take a listen here to what these two congresswomen, Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Republican Nancy Mace, had to say yesterday.
This is horrific. This is awful. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America.
In this country, we have the First Amendment. We have freedom to speak what's on our mind and shouldn't get shot because we believe in our system of democracy.
And we have more team coverage for you on this morning. Scott MacFarlane is following the investigation. Nancy Cordes is standing by for us at the White House. Olivia Rinaldi is tracking a response from Capitol Hill. But let's first get to Carter Evans, who joins us from outside the scene there in Orem, Utah. Carter, good morning. Thousands of people were gathered at this event. Walk us through exactly what we understand happened and what you're hearing from witnesses.
So what I'm hearing from witnesses is they were very excited. And as you said, there were thousands of people. I mean, it was a packed event. And they had just started the debate section of the event. Basically, he calls it Prove Me Wrong. And this is an opportunity for students to get up and ask Charlie Kirk questions, and he responds, and they have a respectful debate back and forth on a whole range of issues. What they were discussing when he was killed was mass shootings. And that's when that shot rang out. It hit him in the neck. He went backwards very quickly. The crowd started panicking. Everybody started running. There was a security detail right next to Charlie Kirk. They took him behind the tent where he was, back in this area over here, and essentially rushed him to the hospital in a private vehicle. They did not even wait for an ambulance to come. They wanted to get him to the hospital as quickly as possible, but as you know, he passed away.
Yeah, I would discourage people from seeing the video of the incident. It is so graphic and disturbing. Carter, thank you for spelling it all out for us. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us now from our Washington bureau. Scott, good morning. I know you're bringing us up to speed on the investigation. What is so unusual is despite the security presence with Charlie Kirk, the shooter is unknown and still at large. So why is that, and what do investigators know today?
Errol, it's quite striking. It's a day later, and there's a manhunt for an assassin underway. Investigators say they believe this was targeted. They've characterized it as a political assassination. The governor of Utah did too. But precious little information came out overnight, and we haven't seen images of a person's outline or details of his or her car or weaponry or bagging. You can see the images there on the screen. They believe this was a single shot fired from about 200 yards away. That's a couple football fields away. There's some cell phone video from inside a campus building that if you zoom into it, you can see a figure there on the roof, spot shadowed on your screen. But there's been conflicting information about the arrests or the detentions that have been made so far. The FBI director had announced on social media they took a subject into custody in connection with the shooting, then posted about an hour later they had released that person from custody. Errol, we've talked to police overnight. They've said they've had 2 people in custody. One was for obstructing the scene as they responded. Another was for questioning, but neither has direct ties to this shooting. So the day begins with the search for a suspect and a manhunt for an assassin.
And if any of our viewers were there, the local police, they want your videos, they want your pictures, they want your images, because the hunt is on. Scott MacFarlane, thank you. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now from the White House with more. Nancy, good morning. You know, what's interesting is Charlie Kirk was not officially a White House staffer, but he was very close with President Trump and his family. Some of our viewers, though, may have no idea who he is, but he has had huge political influence. How is the president reacting? And help us understand the influence Charlie Kirk had.
Such huge influence, Errol. In fact, there are a lot of White House officials who believe that they are in their jobs now, that President Trump won re-election because Charlie Kirk really went to bat for him in 2024 and mobilized his huge base of support, particularly among young voters and young male voters, especially, that helped usher in President Trump back to the White House. And so yesterday, not only was this the death of someone who they admire, who they see as an inspiration, but also really a death in the family. They knew him so well. And yesterday we saw White House officials in shock. We saw White House officials in tears. And this is someone who came to the White House regularly to visit, to consult. He was a fixture at Mar-a-Lago as well. He consulted President Trump, gave him advice on some of his cabinet picks. He was even an early champion of J.D. Vance to be vice president of the United States. Donald Trump Jr. in particular was very close to Charlie Kirk. They vacationed together, traveled together. They went to Greenland together earlier this year. And last night, Donald Trump Jr. posted that he thought of Kirk as a little brother. President Trump himself also weighed in a 4-minute video that he filmed inside the Oval Office last night. Take a listen to how he described Charlie Kirk.
He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
We have learned this morning that Vice President Vance, who was planning to go to New York to observe the 9/11 anniversary and attend ceremonies there, will instead be heading to Salt Lake City to show support for Charlie Kirk's wife and his children. Errol?
Yeah, hearts go out to them. Nancy, thank you very much. CBS News White House producer and reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins me now in studio with reaction from lawmakers. I mean, the shockwaves from this, Olivia, are still being felt. But what are lawmakers saying?
Yeah, Errol, it was one of those interesting moments where Congress is actually on Capitol Hill as this was unfolding. So we were getting live reaction from these members of Congress as they were hearing about their close friend and confidant, Charlie Kirk, and what was going on with him. Take a listen to some of the reaction we heard from Senator Reid, who spoke with our Major Garrett, as well as Marjorie Taylor Greene, who herself is such a fixture of this movement. Take a listen.
One of our fundamental principles of the American way of life is the freedom to speak out and to do so without fear of not only intimidation, but violence. This is absolutely reprehensible.
It's the worst thing, shocking, and everyone's really devastated. My children are devastated. Just everyone I know. There really aren't words.
Now, he was known for these combative conversations that he would have on college campuses, but he also went across the aisle. There was this famous podcast he did with Governor Gavin Newsom of California, where they talked about everything, and it was kind of seen as this way to bridge the gap in such a divided political world that we have right now. And
that engagement he would have on campus, he would then turn into content. It would go viral, whether you liked him or not. People would engage with the content. He was on podcasts and YouTube. Yeah. What does Charlie Kirk mean to young conservatives? Because I know that as you were covering candidate Trump on the campaign trail, he was a visible presence.
He was the embodiment of young conservative movement right now, especially in the MAGA movement. What was the most interesting thing was the Trump campaign was so small. It was so insular, small but mighty team. But they trusted Charlie Kirk so much that they tasked him with getting those mid-propensity voters, those young voters that are likely to vote, but maybe haven't made that plan to do so. Charlie Kirk went on those college campuses and said, here's the plan, here's how you do this, here's when you need to sign up, and really mobilize them. And there was an anecdote that the vice president actually put out last night where he said, you know, whenever you get nervous or overwhelmed by the campaign and the amount that they had to do and the voters they had to reach, Charlie Kirk would tell him, you worry about Wisconsin, I've got Arizona. That's where he was a resident. He said, we've got it in the bag. I'm not worried about it. He built out the base for the MAGA movement in Arizona for young people. He worked on it in Georgia. He worked on it in Michigan. He just had built out a lot of the Trump campaign apparatus and was able to reach those voters, talk to them, and then bring that message back to President Trump and say, here's what they need to hear, here's what they want from you, and then he could tailor his campaign around that.
I think we might have a bit of sound that speaks to that.
We do. If we want to listen to that.
Charlie Kirk continued to push forward in spite of threats. He was a seasoned veteran at vigorously debating in a civil fashion the issues of the day. His voice will continue to be heard. This tragic episode by this filthy assassin who committed this event will not silence his voice, and it will not silence the good people of the United States of America.
And that's the Republican from Utah, of course, as they are all in mourning today.
A heavy day for the country. Indeed, Olivia, thank you so much.
Thank you.